There was a bar that stood on a wooden platform in the center of Lake Champlain, accessible only by boat. The Lone Anchor, they called it, built in the 1970s by a real estate developer who wanted something unique, something people would travel miles to see. For 30 years it thrived. Locals would motor out on summer evenings. Tourists would rent boats just to have a drink surrounded by water on all sides. Then, in the fall of 2007, the owner locked the doors and never came back. No explanation, no bankruptcy filing. The boats stopped coming. The platform began to rot. But here's the thing that kept people talking in Burlington, Vermont, for years afterward. Late at night, when the lake was dark and still, boaters passing by would see lights flickering in the windows. They would hear music drifting across the water. Some even reported seeing figures moving inside, shadows pressed against the glass. The authorities checked it out twice, found nothing. The doors remained locked from the outside, rusted shut. No signs of entry, no squatters, no explanations. But the lights kept appearing. And then, in the spring of 2019, someone finally went inside. What they found changed everything we thought we knew about that place. I'm Jason Fox, and this one still keeps me up some nights. The person who finally entered the Lone Anchor was Adrian Fletcher, a bartender like me. We crossed paths at a hospitality convention in Boston back in 2019, and he told me this story over the course of 3 nights. I had to practically drag it out of him. Adrian was in his mid-30s then, working at a brew pub in Burlington. He had that lean, weathered look you get from years of standing behind a bar, listening to people's problems. His hands never stopped moving when he talked, always fidgeting with coasters, napkins, whatever was nearby. Adrian explained that he first heard about the Lone Anchor from an older colleague named Graham Porter. Graham had worked there back in the 80s during its heyday. He described summer nights when every table was full, when people would arrive by boat from all over the lake when the bar felt like its own floating world, disconnected from shore and all its troubles. Graham had left in 1995 to work closer to home, but he talked about the Lone Anchor, the way some people talk about a first love, with longing, with unfinished business in his voice. In March of 2019, Graham passed away suddenly, heart attack in his sleep. Adrian attended the funeral, paid his respects to Graham's wife, Allison. She was a composed woman in her 60s, silver hair pulled back tight, but her eyes carried something Adrian couldn't quite place. After the service, she pulled him aside. She mentioned that Graham had left something for him, an envelope. Inside was a single brass key and a handwritten note. The note said, "The Lone Anchor is yours if you want it. I bought it in 2008, a month after they closed it. Never told anyone, never went back. Maybe you're braver than I was." Adrian stood there in the funeral home parking lot, holding that key, trying to make sense of it. Graham had owned the Lone Anchor for over a decade and never mentioned it to anyone, not even his wife. Allison confirmed she had no idea until she found the deed while going through Graham's papers after he passed. She seemed relieved to hand over the key, as if it carried a weight she did not want to bear any longer. For 2 weeks, Adrian kept the key in his pocket. He would touch it during his shifts, feeling its unusual warmth against his fingers. He researched the property online, found old photos of the Lone Anchor in its glory days. A solid rectangular building, wood-paneled walls, large windows facing in every direction, a wraparound deck. The platform it sat on was built on old dock pilings, reinforced with steel. In the photos, the place looked inviting. People smiled. Glasses caught the sunlight. But there were no recent photos, nothing from after 2007. Adrian asked around Burlington about the Lone Anchor. The reactions were consistent. People's expressions would shift. Some would change the subject. Others would mention the lights, the music, the feeling that something was not quite right out there on the water. An old-timer at a marina mentioned that in 2011, a couple of teenagers took a rowboat out there on a dare. They came back white-faced and shaking, refused to say what they saw. One of them moved out of state a year later. On April 9th, 2019, Adrian rented a small motorboat. It was an overcast Tuesday afternoon, the lake gray and choppy. He brought a flashlight, a crowbar in case the door would not open, and the brass key. The Lone Anchor was about 2 miles from the nearest marina, situated in a part of the lake where the shore curved away on both sides, creating a sense of isolation. As he approached, the building came into view. and he felt his stomach tighten. The lone anchor looked worse than he had imagined. The wood was sun-bleached and warped. Several windows were cracked and the deck sagged dangerously at the corners. But the structure still stood, defying weather and time. Adrian tied his boat to what remained of the dock and stepped carefully onto the platform. The wood groaned under his weight. He could hear water lapping against the pilings below, a hollow sound that seemed too loud in the stillness. The front door was solid oak, swollen from moisture. Adrian tried the key. It slid in smoothly, turned with a soft click that seemed impossible given the rust on the lock's exterior. He pushed, and the door swung inward without resistance. The smell hit him immediately. Not rot or mildew, but something else. Stale beer. Cigarette smoke. The scent of a bar that had closed just hours ago, not 12 years prior. Inside, the main room was larger than he expected. A long bar ran along the right side, bottles still standing on the shelves behind it, dusty but upright. Tables and chairs were arranged as if waiting for customers. A jukebox stood in the corner, its glass front intact. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust, but nothing was broken, nothing was vandalized. It looked like the staff had simply walked out mid-shift and never returned. Adrian's flashlight beam swept across the room. His breathing sounded too loud in his own ears. He stepped further inside, his shoes leaving prints in the dust on the floor. But as he walked toward the bar, he noticed something that made him stop cold. There were other footprints in the dust. Recent ones. They led from the door to the bar, then disappeared behind it. Just one set. The stride length suggested someone taller than Adrian with larger feet. The prints were clear, detailed. They could not have been more than a few days old. He called out. His voice echoed strangely, as if the space was both larger and smaller than it appeared. No response. Adrian told himself it was probably kids, urban explorers, someone who picked the lock before he got there. But the prints only went in one direction. They did not lead back to the door. Whoever made them was either still there or had left by another route. Adrian moved behind the bar. The footprints ended at a spot in front of the cash register. He opened the register, empty, as expected. But underneath where the cash drawer would slide in, someone had carved words into the wood, fresh carvings, the wood still pale where it had been cut. The words read, "They're still here at night." His hands started to shake. He set down his flashlight on the bar and took a moment to steady himself. The rational part of his mind offered explanations. Local kids trying to scare people, urban legend nonsense. But another part, the part that had listened to Graham's wistful stories about this place, knew something was genuinely wrong here. Adrian decided to search the rest of the building. Behind the bar area was a small kitchen, surprisingly clean. The appliances were old, but maintained. In the walk-in cooler, he found shelves stocked with beer. The cans were from brands that had not existed in 2007, packaging he recognized from within the last 5 years. Someone had been bringing supplies out here recently. But why? For what purpose? Next to the kitchen was a narrow stairway leading to a second floor. Adrian had not realized from the outside that the building had a second level. The stairs creaked as he climbed, each step an exercise in nerve control. At the top, he found a small apartment. One bedroom, a bathroom, a sitting area with a window overlooking the lake. The furniture was old but not decrepit. The bed was made. On the nightstand was a journal, leather-bound, with a date on the cover, 2008. Adrian opened the journal. The handwriting was tight and slanted. The first entry was dated March 15, 2008. It read, "I bought the lone anchor today. Allison doesn't know. I'm not sure I can explain why I needed to do this. Maybe I just couldn't stand the thought of someone else owning it. Or maybe I needed to know if what I saw that last night was real. I'm going back tomorrow." Adrian flipped through the pages. Graham's entries detailed trips out to the bar over the course of several months in 2008. Most were short visits during daylight hours, just checking on the building, making minor repairs, bringing supplies. But the tone shifted in July. An entry from July 23rd read, "Stayed until sunset tonight. As the light faded, I felt it again. That presence. Like the bar remembers its past and it's trying to recreate it. I heard voices downstairs, conversations, laughter. But when I went to look, there was nothing, just empty tables and that damned jukebox. The entries continued, growing more disturbed. Graham wrote about spending entire nights at the Lone Anchor, unable to leave, compelled to stay and watch. He described seeing figures sitting at the bar, translucent and flickering like bad television reception. He mentioned hearing his own voice among the phantom conversations, serving drinks to people who were not there. In an entry from September 2008, he wrote, "I understand now. The Lone Anchor doesn't want to be empty. It's holding on to every night it ever had, every customer, every pour. It's trapped in its own past. And if I stay too long, I think I'll be trapped here with it." The journal entries stopped abruptly on October 1st, 2008. The last line read, "I'm not coming back. Allison is more important than ghosts. If someone else finds this place, I hope they're smarter than I was." Adrian closed the journal and looked around the apartment. Graham had spent nights here, alone on the lake, confronting something that should not exist. Adrian felt a deep sadness for the man he had worked alongside, never knowing the burden he carried. But more than sadness, he felt the weight of a warning. Whatever Graham had experienced, it was real enough to drive him away permanently. It was getting dark outside. Adrian had not realized how much time had passed while reading the journal. The gray afternoon had slipped into evening, and through the window he could see the lake turning black under the clouded sky. He needed to leave. Now, but as he stood to go, he heard it. Music, faint, drifting up from downstairs. A jukebox song from the 70s. Something with a slow guitar and a woman's voice. Adrian froze. His boat was the only one at the dock. The building had been empty when he arrived, but the music was unmistakable. It was coming from inside the Lone Anchor. He grabbed his flashlight and moved to the stairs. The music grew louder as he descended. When he reached the main room, he saw that the jukebox was lit up, its colorful lights glowing in the darkness. But there was no power. The building had been disconnected from any electrical source over a decade ago. He approached the jukebox slowly. The song continued to play, the sound clear and full, as if the speakers were in perfect condition. On the jukebox's selection screen, he could see a queue of songs, 6 or 7 lined up. He had not touched it. No one had been near it. The song ended, and after a brief pause, another began. Something upbeat this time. A song people would dance to. Adrian turned around and his breath caught in his throat. The bar was no longer empty. Figures sat at tables, stood near the windows, leaned against the bar. They were translucent, edges blurred and shimmering, but undeniably present. He could make out faces, clothing, postures. A couple at a corner table holding hands. A group of men near the windows gesturing as they talked. A woman at the bar, alone, staring into a drink she held with both hands. None of them looked at Adrian. They were absorbed in their own moments, locked into scenes from years ago. He realized he was seeing the Lone Anchor as it once was. Every night collapsed into one eternal evening. The figures moved and interacted, but their movements were repetitive, looping. The couple would lean together, laugh, then reset and do it again. The men at the window would gesture. One would slap the table, then the sequence would repeat. Adrian stood in the center of the room, surrounded by ghosts of good times, and he understood what Graham had meant about the bar holding onto its past. This place had been loved. It had meant something to people, and when it closed, that love, that energy did not dissipate. It stayed, trapped in the wood and glass and steel, replaying endlessly. The Lone Anchor refused to be abandoned, but then Adrian noticed something that made his blood run cold. Among the spectral figures, one was not looping. One was moving with purpose, looking around the room as if searching for something. It was a man, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing a bartender's apron. The figure turned, and Adrian saw his face clearly. It was Graham. Not Graham as he looked when he passed away, but Graham as he must have appeared 30 years ago. Younger and stronger. The ghost of Graham moved behind the bar, wiping down surfaces, arranging bottles. He was working his shift, just like he had done thousands of times when this place was alive. Adrian wanted to call out, to speak to this echo of a man he once knew, but before he could, the ghost of Graham looked up and stared directly at him. Their eyes met across the room, across time, and in that gaze, Adrian saw recognition, saw a message. The ghost shook its head slowly, a clear warning, then it pointed toward the door. Adrian understood. He was being told to leave, not by the building itself, but by the part of Graham that remained, that had become woven into the lone anchor's strange memory. He backed toward the door, not turning away, not breaking eye contact with the ghost that wore Graham's face. The other figures continued their loops, oblivious. The jukebox played on. The ghost of Graham watched him go, and just before Adrian reached the door, he saw it mouth 3 words, "Don't come back." Adrian stumbled out onto the deck, gasping for air. The cold evening wind hit his face like a slap. He untied his boat with shaking hands and started the motor. As he pulled away from the lone anchor, he looked back at the building. Through the windows, he could see the lights of the jukebox and the shadows of figures moving inside. The bar was full, alive in its own impossible way, and standing at the window, watching him leave, was the ghost of Graham Porter, already turning away to serve customers who had been gone for decades. Adrian did not tell anyone about that night. Not at first. He went back to his normal life, working his shifts at the brew pub, pretending everything was fine. But he could not shake what he had seen. The image of Graham, trapped in the place he loved, working an eternal shift behind a bar that refused to die. It haunted him. He started having dreams about the lone anchor, dreams where he would find himself behind that bar, serving those phantom customers, unable to leave even when he tried. He would wake up sweating, his hands moving as if pouring drinks. 3 weeks after his visit, Adrian received a letter at his apartment. It had no return address, just his name written in handwriting he recognized from the journal. Graham's handwriting. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a brief message. "You came. You saw. Now you understand. Sell it. Destroy the deed. Never speak of it again. Some places hold on too tight. Don't let it hold on to you." Adrian did not know how the letter was possible. Graham had been dead for over a month when it arrived. But at that point, impossible had lost its meaning. He understood that the lone anchor existed outside normal rules, and whatever part of Graham remained there could reach beyond its walls in ways that should not be possible. He contacted Allison Wade and asked if she wanted the lone anchor back. She refused, firmly and without hesitation. She mentioned that since Graham's death she had experienced strange occurrences. Hearing his voice in empty rooms, finding the smell of the bar in their home, that mix of beer and old wood. She wanted nothing to do with that place, wanted it erased from her life entirely. Adrian understood her fear. He felt it himself. For months, Adrian tried to sell the property. He listed it through a real estate agent, pricing it absurdly low. But every potential buyer who went to see it came back changed. Some refused to discuss what they experienced. Others became angry, accusing Adrian of trying to trick them. One man, a developer from Boston, took a boat out there on a Tuesday afternoon. He did not come back until Thursday morning. When authorities found him, he was sitting on the deck of the lone anchor, staring out at the water, unresponsive. He eventually recovered physically, but he never spoke coherently about what happened to him during those 2 days. Adrian realized that the lone anchor could not be sold. It could not be transferred. It held on to people, just as it held on to its past. Anyone who spent too much time there became part of its collection, another loop in its endless evening. He considered having it demolished, but something stopped him. A fear that destroying the building would not destroy what lived inside it, that it might just release all those trapped moments into the world, or worse, trap him in the rubble as it came down. In the fall of 2019, Adrian made his second and final trip to the lone anchor. He went during the day, determined to confront whatever was there with clear eyes and sunlight. He brought the journal with him, planning to leave it there as a warning for anyone else who might find the place. When he arrived, the building looked exactly as it had months before. Same weathered wood, same sagging deck, same sense of wrongness. He opened the door with the brass key. The interior was unchanged. The footprints he had left in the dust during his first visit were still there. But now there was a second set alongside them, matching his own stride and shoe size perfectly, as if he had walked through twice, or as if the building had recorded his presence and replayed it. He walked to the bar, and behind it, he found the cash register still open. The carving was still there. "They're still here at night." Adrian placed the journal on the bar. He stood there in silence, remembering Graham, remembering all the stories about this place. He spoke aloud, though he felt foolish doing it. He mentioned that he was sorry. Sorry that Graham got trapped here in some way. Sorry that the lone anchor became something other than what it was meant to be. Sorry that he could not find a way to free whatever remained. As he spoke, the temperature in the room dropped. His breath misted in front of him, and then he heard it. A voice, Graham's voice, not ghostly or distant, but clear as if standing right beside him. It said, "It's not your burden, Adrian. I chose to stay. Part of me wanted to. This place was everything once. I couldn't let it go, but you can. Lock the door. Throw away the key. Let the lake take it when it's ready." Adrian looked around but saw no one. The voice had come from everywhere and nowhere. He felt tears in his eyes, though he could not fully explain why. He nodded, knowing somehow that Graham could see him, could understand. He walked to the door, stepped outside, and locked it behind him. He held the brass key for a moment, feeling its warmth one last time. Then he threw it as hard as he could into the lake. It disappeared beneath the surface with a small splash, gone forever. As Adrian's boat pulled away from the lone anchor, he did not look back. He heard the voice one more time, carried on the wind across the water. It said, "Thank you." When Adrian told me this story, it was his first time speaking about it in detail. He looked exhausted by the end, as if reliving those events had drained something from him. He mentioned that he left Burlington a few months later, moved to a city in New Hampshire, started fresh somewhere without lakes or history. He said he never wanted to tend bar again on water, never wanted to be near a place that could hold on to the past so tightly. I asked him if he thought the lone anchor was still out there, still doing whatever it does when night falls. He said yes, absolutely. He mentioned that sometimes he searches online for news from Burlington, looking for stories about lights on the lake, about music heard over the water, and he finds them once or twice a year. Boaters reporting strange phenomena near a rotting structure in the middle of Lake Champlain. The authorities investigate occasionally, find nothing, close the case, but the reports keep coming. Adrian made one request of me before he left that convention. He asked that if I ever met anyone from Burlington, anyone who might be curious about abandoned places on the lake, I should warn them. Tell them that some places should stay abandoned, that some buildings hold more than bricks and wood, that the lone anchor is still serving drinks to customers who will never leave, and it's always looking for more. Since Adrian told me his story, I have thought about it often, about places that become more than structures, that soak up the emotions and energy of everyone who passes through. Bars especially are like that. People come to us vulnerable, open, celebrating or mourning, and all of that stays in the walls somehow. Most places it just makes for good atmosphere, warm memories. But sometimes if the conditions are right, if the love or the loss is strong enough, a place can become something else, something that refuses to let go. The lone anchor is still out there on Lake Champlain waiting. The platform might collapse one day, send the whole building down into the water, or maybe it will stand for another 100 years defying time and reason. I do not know. But I know that if you ever find yourself boating on that lake at night, and you see a building in the distance with lights in the windows and music drifting across the water, keep going. Do not stop. Do not investigate. Because the lone anchor is not open for business anymore. It has not been for a very long time. But it will welcome you anyway, and you might find yourself serving drinks to ghosts until the end of time. Just another loop in its eternal evening. Sometimes the places we love do not want to let us go. And sometimes when we hold on too tight to the past holds on right back. Have you ever been somewhere that felt like it was still living in another time? A place where the air felt heavy with memories, where you swore you heard voices from years gone by? I would love to know where you are listening from tonight. Drop your city or state in the comments. It always amazes me how far these stories travel, and how many people have felt that same strange pull toward places that should be forgotten. If you have ever experienced something that defied explanation, a building or location that seemed to exist outside normal time, share your story in the comments. I read every single one. And who knows, maybe your experience will be the next story I tell here. The world is full of places like the lone anchor, places that hold on too tight. Maybe you have found one yourself. If this story got under your skin, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I've got plenty more stories where this came from. Tales from behind the bar that will make you question what is real and what is not. Thank you for listening tonight. Stay safe out there, and remember, some doors are locked for a reason. See you in the next story if you dare.